Wow, 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 my sweet friends. It has been far too long since we have connected. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and support over the last few weeks. And if I'm being honest, it has been a rough go. So, I believe I shared with you all about 6 months I started a new job, and there was a lot of drama transitioning out of my old role because of the lawsuit, because of the lack of the ADA accommodations. And so that was emotionally, physically, and cognitively draining. And so when I transitioned to this new job, I really wasn't ready to return to work, but my long term disability claim was denied because they were basically saying that my conditions were pre existing, and so therefore they weren't going to pay for it. And because I was still undergoing a lot of testing and awaiting a lot of results, and I knew that what I was dealing with right now and at that time was not a pre existing condition, it was not a manifestation of my earlier conditions. And so I do have the ability to appeal that, and that is coming down the road here in almost a month to the actual day. And just because I was transitioning back to work did not mean that my medical full time job was going to go away. So I think the last update that I shared with you guys was I was completing, I think it was like 8 or 9 hours of neuropsych testing, and our kind of main goal with that testing was to identify how much my psychological symptoms were contributing and primarily whether or not I was experiencing any cognitive dysfunction, because I have really been struggling with short and long term memory. I'm having difficulty retrieving words. I forget my train of thought in the middle of my sentence. And so we just wanted to see if there had been any progression in my cognitive dysfunction. So I did get those results back, and it was basically exactly what I was anticipating, which is I still have ADHD. Obviously, that's not something that goes away, and I've had that for all of my life. And the first time that I was diagnosed was back in like 2013, I think. And then this round, I also was diagnosed with unspecified anxiety. And during the debrief, we really talked about this being, it's not generalized. I'm not anxious in general. It's just that my neurocognitive symptoms can cause some anxiety for me if I'm trying to perform in a meeting and I can't figure out what it is that I was trying to say, then I get a lot of anxiety surrounding that. I also have a little bit of depression, he said. It's mostly in remission, but that kind of also is stemming from a lot of the trauma that I experienced as a child, as well as living with chronic illness for the last decade. He did say that it was in partial remission, though, and that is a testament to all of the work that I have been doing in therapy. So I feel really happy about that. And then also just the diagnoses of anxiety and depression will, sort of really kind of illustrate the fact that these chronic illnesses are incredibly debilitating and they are all encompassing. And so, of course, we're going to be anxious and depressed. It's not the other way around, like we are told by a lot of doctors. And then, last but not least, I also was diagnosed with a mild neurocognitive dysfunction, and he said that that is biological in nature or physiological, meaning that it is not psychological, it is stemming from my medical conditions. So, as you can imagine, that piece was pretty validating for me. And in the recommendations in the report, it specifically kind of recommends that I connect with my neuroimmunologist on those particular results, which will help the neuroimmunologist sort of figure out what additional tests we should order. And then I also saw my cardiologist because we had done a 24-hour blood pressure monitor because my symptoms were just all over the board and I could not seem to get out of a flare. And the results of that showed that I was having rapid fluctuations between really low blood pressure and really high blood pressure. And then overnight, I am what's called a extreme nocturnal dipper, which basically just means that my blood pressure overnight dips much lower than what would be expected for a human with my physiology. So we're going to go ahead and repeat that blood pressure monitor. But the other thing that came out of that visit is she is wondering if she definitely believes that we are missing a diagnosis, and she's wondering if that might be what's called a carcinoid tumor or a neuroendocrine tumor. And she thought that because of the high fever, the high blood pressure that I had in clinic, and then also I had a lot of face and neck flushing, and I have all of the symptoms of a carcinoid tumor, and so I have to do a 24-hour urine test this week, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. And then last but not least, I saw a vein and vascular specialist, and I also have vein disease. So basically, it's chronic venous insufficiency, and it's caused by my connective tissue disease. My POTS is also contributing. So fun. I had to have 4 different procedures, radio frequency ablations, where they basically go in and cut off the blood supply to your veins and burn them closed. So that was exciting. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for your support. I can't wait to see you on Monday, and I couldn't be happier to be back.